President Zelensky has been visiting Ukrainian special forces near the city of Bakhmut as Kyiv continues its counter-offensive. Mr. Zelensky praised the troops' truly heroic performance of the troops and said he had travelled to their advanced positions to honour their strength. The city has been the scene of some of the fiercest fighting of the war, and the visit comes after a multi-storey residential building and a security service building were struck by missiles in the central city of Dnipro. Now, at least 9 people were injured and the strikes caused widespread damage. We can go live to Ukraine, to our Ukraine correspondent, James Waterhouse, who's in Kyiv. James, clearly that strike just in the last sort of few hours and last night was clearly damaging to morale, but President Zelensky is very upbeat in his message to his troops in Bakhmut.
Yes, it feels like, doesn't it, that the focus is shifting eastwards in recent days, where, let's start with that missile strike, the top of a residential block, as well as a headquarters building belonging to Ukraine's security services, they were damaged, but no one was killed, thankfully, but 9 people were injured. And it reminds you of the residential block that was struck earlier in the year, where dozens of people lost their lives. I think the city of Dnipro is interesting because it's only 3 hours from the front line, but it's a place which has really carried on as normal. And I think the images of last night of another missile strike in the heart of the city show Moscow's attitude to the tactics it's deploying, in that it sees civilian casualties or areas themselves as acceptable collateral damage in its continued invasion, or it is a deliberate targeting of a civilian area. Now, we've heard from the Kremlin saying it was targeting a Ukrainian command post with what it called high precision weapons, but nevertheless it's a messy situation for people this morning. And as you say, President Zelensky has been making another visit to frontline positions, really. He was last in Bakhmut at the start of the year when his forces controlled the city, which is now pretty much in ruins. Now he has visited advanced positions on the outskirts where he's thanked his troops. He hasn't gone into detail about what their plans are. He even posed with them in a petrol station having a coffee, which is a Ukrainian pastime. You often see soldiers in petrol stations making long journeys back and forth from the front. And there is a backdrop here where Ukraine is attempting its counter-offensive. There are small hard-fought gains taking place. So this is the political effort alongside that, where he wants to be seen near the front to preserve that morale.
And James, we were just seeing pictures now of President Zelensky meeting those soldiers. In terms of where the Ukrainians are with Bakhmut, you've been there. What is the position at the moment?
So if you can imagine, it's like it's a moving line, where at one point at the start of the year when I was there, Ukraine was still in control, and it was clear that they wanted to hold on to the city for as long as possible. The claim from officers there were that they were inflicting so many Russian losses that they wanted to hold on. Ultimately, though, Russia, with its mass and with its equipment, was able to take the city. So now Ukraine is in a more retreated position, but what it's been trying to do is probe around the outskirts to almost give Russia a taste of its own medicine in that area, where it's been trying to encircle Russian troops. The endeavour is there, but it hasn't materialised in a sizable reclaiming of territory. And this was a place that started symbolic. It was clearly somewhere that Russia dearly wanted to take. It was a trophy that the Kremlin wanted. Now it has it. Ukraine has been sort of quite focused in trying to take it back. But we have to remind ourselves, we're talking about a once thriving city with tens of thousands of people that has been reduced to almost nothing. It is simply a battlefield where a lot of people have lost their lives.
OK, James, thank you very much for that analysis. James Waterhouse there in Kyiv, our Ukraine correspondent. And you can read more about the war in Ukraine on our website, bbc.co.uk/news. Well, the South African president has praised Vladimir Putin at a summit between Russia and African nations. Speaking during the meeting with Putin, Cyril Ramaphosa thanked the Russian president for his support for African states and said the region's strategic relationship with Russia had been benefited.
It's wonderful to be working with a partner like you, because I'm a hard worker too, so that's very good. And thank you very much for hosting the Russia-Africa Summit. We believe that it was successful, most successful. It was well organized, and the outcome is very, very good. The declaration was well negotiated and well crafted, and it represents the views that the various countries that were here put forward together with your views, and I believe that we've got a declaration that can take our relationship between Africa and Russia forward.
That was the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa there.